Hi, I'm Alexis.
So introduce yourself and how we met, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll get into what you do. Because even in the background, I see you have this beautiful toe dancer behind you,
Yeah.
and ballet was actually my one of my first loves because the Nutcracker was the first ballet I've ever been to, and then Swan Lake, and then I fell in love, and I was 5 years old.
Oh wow. Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah, actually, this is I started decorating this room when I was about like 12 years old. But let me just start with introducing myself. I'm Alexis. I'm actually a current professional dancer in New York City. I have my own Instagram page, my own email for contact reasons. But I'm here talking to Doctor because he's informing me, about what he does, and we've met at martial arts because I do in myself very fascinated with martial arts, and yeah.
So where do we meet? What we met the Nomad Cali
Yes,
fitness group, right?
yes.
And let's go a little bit. Tell her what Nomad is. What kind of martial art Nomad is?
Well, I mean, it was a collaboration of many different arts. It was definitely a new art for me as a dancer. Um, let's see, they had a bunch of things: kickboxing, boxing, grappling.
Kali, and then the stick and the knife, right?
Yes, yes, defensive with the knife and with the kali, which is a Filipino form of art. And yeah, it was very fascinating. It was very interesting, and I really enjoyed my time while I was there. And things changed, and my life changed, and I moved from there, and kind of have to focus on myself and what I'm doing, and yeah. So
So you are a professional dancer, and you are dancing in a group. And let's
yeah.
go. What group and what format are you dancing? What group?
I'm actually currently in a contemporary dance company at the moment. It's called Nicole Colbert Dance Theater. What I did is I had to send in a headshot, a resume, a body shot, and a video dance reel just to get called into the audition. And then after that, I got called in for the callback audition, and then after that round, I got accepted or contracted with the dance company and accepted, and now I'm working with her. And I just had my first rehearsal this past Friday. So this
How
is,
was it?
huh?
How was it?
It was wonderful. It really was a great experience, especially because this is my first time ever doing concert work. Um, so yeah, it was a very great experience, and I learned a lot. We worked on a few of the works we're gonna do for our show in March. But yeah, it was really, really interesting, and I'm excited. So
So, as a dancer, as a fitness professional, as a person who's dedicated their life into working hard, I,
yes,
I
absolutely, yes. Can definitely call it hard work because I mean I was actually attending the Joffrey Ballet School in New York City for 4 years, which many of the viewers now probably don't know that I went there. Probably maybe don't even know what the school was, but it's like a Juilliard except we don't have academics. So it's like we dance every day from like 9 to 5,
hey,
and that's it. So it's like I had to be up every morning at 5 p.m., catch the bus, to the city, dance every day, all day, Monday through Friday. So yes, hard work and dedication absolutely is hands down. Dancers, we do absolutely have to work hard and dedicate our lives to our craft, and I think that people need to realize that more too. And I'm sure as a martial artist, you feel the same way. People need to realize how much work and effort and dedication we put into our art, and people I feel need to recognize that more. And that's how I feel as a
so
dancer.
do you think they're not? Do you think people don't give dancers enough recognition of the hard work that they do, or they put them in a separate box, going, "Oh, that's just dancing"?
That's a really good question because I think as a dancer in my profession, I feel that other dancers know how hard we work, and
Of
I feel
course.
that we all know what it takes to do what we do. However, I feel like an outsider looking in doesn't realize that. You know what I mean? It's like they don't realize, like, we don't just twirl around like la li la li la. You know what I mean? It takes practice, it takes dedication, it takes hard work, it takes, you know, people think, oh, you just dance, you don't really, it's fun, you don't really have to think about things. Like, have you ever done a petit allegro? I mean, you really have to put a lot of mind work into that. It's intense, you know what I mean? It's like, we have to know our counts, we have to know our steps, and it's like, it's a lot of, we have to use our heads. We have to. We can't just go aimlessly into an audition or aimlessly into a rehearsal. There's a lot of use of our, dancers are smart, and people don't seem to realize that you have to be smart to be a dancer. You have to be dedicated. You have to be hardworking. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like a lot goes into our art that I think people looking outside don't realize, like, and it's like, it's a profession. It really is not easy to be a professional dancer.
And I know what you mean. What bugs me about the artistic side of life that you have, obviously have people who are artistic, whether they're painters, drawers, or any expressive of way of life. Then you have the others, and they just look at that like it's just more fun. And what's sad to me is that if they look at the other side as more fun, are they saying that they're not having fun in their craft?
Yeah.
And if they're not having fun in their craft, then why are you doing it? Because it's about passion. And if we don't have the passion, why do anything? And why do anything if it's not about passion and love?
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly think that if it wasn't for my passion for dance, I would not be doing it today, because I feel like you have to have a passion, you have to have a drive, you have to have a strong love for your craft or your art, because then there's nothing else to it. You know what I mean? To get up and do what you want to do every day, to do what you love. It's just like that. It's like almost a fire inside of you that's like, you have to keep going, you have to keep going, you have to keep pushing. Like you just got it, you have it, you could do it. You know what I mean? And it's constantly that little voice inside your head or in you that is like, continue. Because if you don't have that, I mean, really, what else do you have? You're just doing something aimlessly just because, you feel like you have to. And eventually, if you don't have passion for what you do, it kind of just dies out, and then eventually you just stop.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some of the hard questions. Like, did you ever think about stopping?
Plenty of times. I actually took off last year, took the entire year off. I didn't audition for anything. I was like giving up on myself. I was like, I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't, and usually artists don't like to admit that they're not good at their craft, or they feel like they're not good at their craft. You know what I mean? Because then that gives people another perspective on you and different ideas on you. And I like to say that I don't think I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to make yourself seem good. You want to put a good foot forward and let people know, like, oh, I'm good at my craft. This is what I have to do. This is what I can do. This is, you know what I mean? But at the time, I went through a huge time in my life where I just felt, is this really what I'm meant to do? Is this really what I want to do? Like, am I good enough to do it? You know what I mean? And it was just that whole year where it was just like darkness. It was like my own very own dark age, and it was just like.
So I'm gonna ask you about that darkness. I want you to tap into some of that emotion, because I think, let's go with this way. So why do we do this? We do this because people feel like they're alone, and they're not. We're out here. You're out here. We're all out here who have gone through this murky murk to get to the other side, or at least push through. That's one. We do this for educational purpose, for people who think that all what this is more than what they thought it was. So it's like, hey, great for that. We also do this for one other reason. We want to showcase hard work and talent, because not enough gets showcased on many levels, that we just work hard as human beings to be happy and to be living.
Yes, exactly.
So let's go back to your dark murkiness. If you could, if instead of, you don't have to get too personal, but if you could tell why you got there and how you got out.
Well, how I got there was because, obviously, yes, dance is a very beautiful art form. It's a very fun art form. It's an art form that I fell in love with and I'm passionate about. However, there is a dark side to dance too. There's a lot of negativity. You're surrounded by a lot of negative people. There's people that tell you that you're not good enough. There's people who judge you by your weight. There's people that judge you by how you look. There's, your ethnicity. There's so many judgments that are passed and people that are putting you down on a daily basis. And it was just like to the point where I didn't want to get up in the morning, you know, I didn't want to get up and go to my dance school and dance all day because, you know, I was surrounded by this negative energy that these people were telling me, oh, you're giving me vibes that I wasn't good enough, that I couldn't do it, that I should just give up. And that really became embedded in my brain. And it really was something that I really started to believe in. And it was like, thank God I had my family to support me and my close friends to support me and drive me to continue to do what I do and tell me that, like, you know, we didn't think you were so talented or we didn't think you were good enough to make this a profession, you know, we wouldn't have supported you this long away and we wouldn't have invested the money in you if we didn't think that you could do it.
So let me ask you, let me interject. So would you, because of what you were going through, you chose to do this. You chose to go through this, we call through the valley, right?
Yeah.
Is what they were telling you that you're not good enough and all those other negativity, is that considered harassment and or bullying? Do you think that that's what that is? Or is it part of the culture of this type of society?
See, it definitely could be a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think that it was a form of bullying in some ways, but I think it also is part of the art form, you know, when it comes to body type and, you know, the way you look. And I think that does take a big role into the art. However, I think in terms of me, I think that sometimes the teachers might say something to you because they see something in you and they want you to push harder and they want you to do better, you know, but maybe it doesn't necessarily come out that effectively or doesn't come off the right way. So I think that I've definitely experienced that aspect as well. I think that there's a lot of, not saying that people were jealous of me personally, but I've seen it with other people. I think that there is a lot of jealousy. I think there's a lot of envy. There's a lot of putting down because they want to feel better about themselves. But then again, this goes with everyday life too. But I just feel like a little bit more predominant in the dance world because it is very competitive, you know, and there's a difference between nasty competitive and friendly competitive. But it was a little more of the harsh competitive where I was than it was, you know. So I definitely think it could definitely correlates. It definitely correlates with each other. And I think it works. It can work both ways. And for me personally, it was both. And yeah, so
now that you're in this spot, you're in that spot, you're working through this spot, and in that spot we have so many kids who are committing suicide. We have so many kids people who end up with opiate drug abuse and or whatever type of abuse, whether it be anything between anything harmful to your life, right? Now, and then you said you had a support system of family and friends, and then so what really pulled you out? You have the support, but we know support systems don't pull you out. There's something that you triggered. What was that?
Okay, so I obviously was off a year, and it was a very quiet point for me as far as dance. I wasn't really active in my career. I could have definitely been more advocating for myself more. It's kind of like when you're in this negative mindset, it's kind of like you're so stuck in there, and it's really hard to get out. But I think it was just, you know, talking it out with people, discussing it, reviewing the feelings I was feeling, and you know, it was kind of like I needed to clear my head. And I think that's what that year was for, clearing my head and realizing that I'm not going to let what other people say control how I feel about my dancing and control what I do with my future. Because when you start taking in all that negative energy and you start becoming that, you know, and it's kind of just releasing it all and taking all that positive feedback that you've ever been given and taking in all that support that you've been getting from your family and friends and using that and using maybe the negative energy and the positive energy to fuel you to be successful at what you do. You know what I mean? And I think that's really what I did this year as a dancer and why I started my dance page and why I, you know, been so determined to, like, you know, make this my craft and forget about what people say, you know, because what people say doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because what really matters is that person at the audition looking at you, you know, behind the desk. And if they think you're good and they want to hire you, that's really all that matters. What really matters is how you feel about yourself. And if what you do makes you happy, then then go for it. And it took me a long time to realize this, and it took me a long time to finally, you know, be positive about myself and say, you know what, I don't care what so and so had to say. I don't care what so and so thinks. You know what I mean? Because I think I'm a pretty damn good dancer, and I think that I have a lot of attributes to offer the dance world. And you want to know what people say doesn't matter, because, you know, I have so much support and I have so much fire in me to continue doing what I do and what I love. And this year it just like clicked for me. It was kind of just like, all right, you know what, time to grow up, time to, you know, put your big girl pants on and go for it and do it, because you worked so hard and invested so much time into what you do. And, you know, and it's just like after a while, you know, being in the darkness is just, you know what I mean? It's just something that is it's not worth it. It's not worth letting others control how you think.
Or your destiny.
Yeah, and control your destiny. Exactly. And I was like, I worked hard for this. I have a very strong, great support system at home. My family is very supportive of me and my dance. And a lot of people don't have that. And I really think that I'm very grateful for my family, because they really did push me to continue. And my mom would be like, are you going to audition? Like, go out and audition, like go and audition, like you could do it. And I think that, you know, she kind of also lit the fire inside of me a little bit more than I could have done myself.
So is there a way that we can help anyone who needs that support system? Is there something avenue out there that could help either young male or female, doesn't matter, but people who don't have that support system, who don't have that family, who are out there on their own and who feel like they just can't get through this? Is there a way that we could support, you could support, we could develop something that could get out there, so someone says, hey, you know, I'm having a tough time, and they can hit you in the chat and say, you're like, you know what, I've been there, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like,
I absolutely think there's ways that we can show support to others that don't have family or friends that support them. As far as like what we can do is kind of like a little bit more, I think, complex. But I think that it could be easily as if you do know somebody or have a friend that really likes to do something, passionate and good at what they do, then I think that you can even lend over, you know, a compliment or a push and be like, you know what, you're really good at what you do. You're very talented. You know, you're a great singer, dancer, martial artist, whatever it may be. And I really think that letting that person know that they can do it and constantly giving that, you know, voice of positive reinforcement. I think that's what a lot of people lack nowadays is not everyone needs to be put down to be motivated. Not everyone needs negativity to be motivated. Some people need a positive reinforcement to be motivated. I also teach dance as well. And you know what I'm not so for is like, oh, well, your turnout's not great or you're doing this wrong. You know, it's the positive things about people that you want to bring out, you know, and I think that's what you do when you support someone, you know, you do this very well, you do this very well, you know, embrace those things, you know, and I think that that's part of being supportive as well, you know, bringing out the positive in people, you know, telling them they're good at what they do, telling them they're good at their craft. You know, I feel like it's very important. You don't need to be best friends with that person. They could just be somebody that is like, oh, you know, I really like my music. I'm really trying to bring it out, you know, maybe sharing it on social media. Social media, and that's why I made my own page too. Social media is a very strong base, you know, for promoting yourself and building a following and getting yourself out there. And I feel like that's another good way to show your support for people. You know, I have friends that are very talented musicians and I'm always, you know, sharing their stuff and showing them. And I think being supportive on social media is a great way too to show support to others and let them know that never give up what they're doing. And especially if you love it, you know, keep going, you know.
So where do you teach dance at?
I'm currently just teaching dance at New York Dance Sport here in Rockland, which I really enjoy. I'm surrounded by so many great people and kind people and who open their doors to me and allowed me to teach at their facility.
Do they ask for you specifically or they'd have to sign for a class?
What do you mean by that?
Like, so as you're teaching dance, so is there a class schedule that you teach at, or is it like they could just ask for you do private lessons?
I do privates for like club dancing, and I also this January in the new year. So what it does is it's your everyday beginner ballet class that builds strength, endurance, flexibility, and it will be a regular class on the schedule that people can sign up and take. So
Okay.
like class, yeah.
And then your other question is that you have a show in March. What's the show called that you be?
It's by Nicole Colbert Dance Theater, and it's called The Project, The Home Project. It will be performed at the Triskelion Arts Center, and it's like it's like a contemporary theater kind of, it will be a contemporary dance theater kind of show. So it's like contemporary dance mixed with some acting and theatrical points and things like that that will be emphasized throughout the work. So
Where can they get tickets?
Tickets are not on sale yet, but when they are and they're ready to be purchased, I will definitely keep everyone updated and, let them know the prices and things like that nature.
Also, here's a tough question.
Yes.
There's some young girls out there who were several years behind you in dance. And this say we'll call them teenagers. You may not be a teenager anymore, but there's teenagers out there dancing.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you could give to them that they can hold on to keep moving forward, so they can one day end up on the other side of you?
Some positive messages to well, there's so many things I can say. Well, first of all, I wanted to say one thing. The dance world is very small, so everyone knows somebody, I would never, always speak highly of other people, never put other people down. And also always stay positive and be positive about what you do, and never let others control your thoughts or your feelings about what you love to do. If you're very passionate about your art and you really love what you're doing, keep going. And if that's what you want to, if you want to make it your profession, do that. Do just that, because you should never let anybody else stop you. The only person that can stop you is you. And if you love something and you're passionate about it, continue to do it. Never stop doing it because other people tell you that you can. And that was the problem with me. I was letting others control my thoughts and my feelings and how I felt about my art, and never let anybody else do that to you. You're in control of yourself, and always be in control of yourself and what you do. So if you love something, I say never give up and go for it. And that's basically what I have to say. I think that young girls out there need to know that, they do have something to offer, and they are individually have unique attributes to add to the dance world. And I think that that's something that people need to accentuate more instead of putting others down. Be more positive about each other. Tell that person you did a great job, Be positive. Don't only be positive within yourself and how you think of yourself, but be positive to the people around you and spread, positivity.
More joy.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there needs to be positive interactions between people opposed to negative ones.
So I've trained some dancers before, and high kick and jazz and tap. Now, as being in the business, what muscle do you think gets missed as a young dancer that you didn't realize you really had to train more often?
What muscle?
Yes.
What muscle do I think needed to be trained more?
That gets missed as a young dancer.
As a young dancer. Oh, okay. Everyone's so focused on the glutes and your turnout and stuff, but I think what they really need to emphasize is the adductors and the abductors, which is your inner thighs, because not only do you have to use your glutes and whatever muscles to use your turnout, but you also need to use your inner thighs to turn out, which is your adductors is bringing your leg in, your abductors is bringing your legs apart. So it's like those inner muscles in your legs that are very important in dance and useful for training. And so I think that's important. Abductors and adductors.
Thank you, because I was thinking that, and then lower back. Most dancers do not focus good lower back strength, and they end up having a curve.
Yeah, exactly. And always working through your plie, because I know a lot of dancers that have a lot of knee injuries, and they're always, oh, my knees, oh, I have really bad knees. But it's sometimes the way you're working technically or how you're transitioning through your movements that causes you to, like, you know, get knee injuries and have problems with your knees. And, you know, so that's another thing that people need to, well, me including myself too, I've done it before in the past, where it's like transitioning to your movements. You have to be focused on what muscles and how you're moving your body technically to avoid injury.
So what emotional mindset does that you connect with your emotions and your physical and your spiritual self that helps you with your dance?
Elaborate on that.
Yeah. So as you're dancing, you must be in an emotional state as you're doing it, along with doing the technical stuff that you have to do. So how does that really work in your body to keep it harmony-wise?
Oh, I see what you mean. To get it to flow.
Right.
See, that was always my problem. I was so focused sometimes on my movements that I didn't listen to the music, that I didn't connect to my movements. And I feel like that's very important as a dancer, to be able to not only do the steps, but connect to it. What is your intention behind your movements?
Right.
What is your feeling behind the movements? Like, how are you transitioning your steps, you know? So I feel like they all have to be correlated. You know, you have to know your steps, of course, but your intention behind the movement, the feeling behind the movement, listening to the music are all very, very, very important factors in being a dancer. And I feel like that people miss those certain details. You know what I mean? It's like we're so focused on doing the steps that this is what I have. Actually, it's a good question, a really good question, because I sometimes disregard the music, and it's so bad as a dancer to not connect to your steps and your movements and the music. And it's, you know, that's a huge part of being a dancer, is connecting to your emotions and connecting to your movements and connecting to the music. And I feel like sometimes I don't do that, but I've been working on that. And, you know, if it's a song, if it's a dance that I might have choreographed, or a dance that I'm doing that is sad or happy, I'll kind of express that in my movements, maybe be more, you know, if it's sad, maybe be more
emotional. I call it emotional, purposeful intent.
Yeah.
Because anything we do in our life, if we understand our emotions and we have purposeful intent, we can align all those energies in our bodies with the action.
Exactly.
So often, we get, like you said perfectly. You said we get so intent on the action, but we miss our emotional purpose. And if we miss our emotional purpose, then nothing flows smoothly, and it doesn't look like it's working. It actually looks like something's off, because we are very emotional animals. We're not mechanical. We're not cars or cranes. We're all together in one full movement.
Yes. And that's really right. That's funny you asked that question, because that's always been my weakness as a dancer, connecting to the movements and not just going through the movements. You know what I mean? And it's like I became so like mechanical, you know, and it's like that's not what made me a dancer to begin with. What made me a dancer is how I connected to the music, how I connected to the emotions behind the steps. And, you know, that's really what I, you know, feel like is so important about any art form. You know what I mean? Even with martial arts, I know there's breathing involved and, you know, emotions involved, and it's a lot more to, there's a lot more to it than just martial arts or ballet or art form there is, you know?
Or painting or anything, right?
Anything.
So I always say we're not accountants, and I don't want to tease accountants, but I'm sure an accountant doesn't go 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an emotional feeling of 2.
Exactly. And that's what's different about performing arts and the arts, that, you know, is different than being a math teacher, or, you know what I mean? It's like they don't have that other, you know what I mean?
I do. Poor thing.
Yeah. I just gotta do this math problem. I gotta meditate. You know what I mean? Although I have to say I've had to, you know, mentally prepare for tests and stuff. I'm very like, oh, I don't want to do bad, but that's different. That's like, you know, combating nerves and things like that. It's different. It's different when you're in the arts. It's different. Hi.